You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
As we continue our ongoing fire coverage of multiple fires, not just in Pacific Palisades, but also Eaton Canyon, just above Altadena, we have new information to share that an evacuation order has been issued for northern Santa Monica. Residents living between San Vicente Boulevard and the city's northern border are being ordered to evacuate. Let me say that again. Ordered to evacuate due to the explosive Palisades fire, and residents north of Montana Avenue are being warned to prepare to leave. Again, residents living between San Vicente and the city's northern border are being ordered to evacuate now due to the explosive Palisades fire, and residents north of Montana Avenue are being warned to prepare to leave. And I would say, given our previous conversations, prepare to leave means get ready to leave now. Do what you need to do now. Get your go bag together. Get your medicines together. Get all of the important documents, change of clothes. Get those together now. And do not wait for the mandatory order to leave, if only because what we've seen in the Palisades fire with all the people trying to leave at once, you don't know what type of traffic obstacles you will definitely come upon as you're trying to get to some other safe location. This is really important, and it's not something for you to wait on. And they're telling you that this evacuation order is immediate threat to life. This is an order to leave now from the city of Santa Monica, and the area is closed to public access. And Eileen Gonzalez, I had some information. I know you had some information. Did you have anything more or different than what I had?
It's pretty much the same, but people really need to take this seriously. I mean, this is a threat to life. If they're anywhere in that area, be prepared. Better to be prepared and not have to do it than being caught at the last minute. So people just need to take this seriously. It looks, pretty much the same information that you have. And it's just going to be getting more dangerous as these winds pick up. So just take it seriously.
We've seen what has been happening with Pacific Palisades. We've heard from someone who was a resident who was evacuated prior to the mandatory evacuation, who lost her home, presumably, but was able to save her family.
And these fires, I don't know if people realize how fast they move.
Yes.
I mean, I was a reporter and I've covered these fires before, and I've been in a location and where you have to move. I mean, it's like I don't think you can run fast enough to get away from these. They move very, very fast. And
not only that, they can skip over roads. They can obviously obstruct your path to safety. It doesn't take long to go from safe to unsafe. It doesn't take long to go from safe to in immediate danger. So this order to evacuate needs to be heeded. It needs to be followed. And if you're just tuning in, the evacuation order has been issued for northern Santa Monica. We will repeat it. Residents living between San Vicente Boulevard and the city's northern border are being ordered to evacuate due to the explosive Palisades fire. This is not a recommendation. It is an order. And something else that you need to remember, the longer you wait, the more likely that you're going to imperil not only your life, but the lives of the first responders who may be put in harm's way trying to save you, trying to save your family, trying to rescue some other first responder, trying to save your house because you did not leave at the appointed time. So leave now. If you are in that area, leave now. If you're not in that area, do not try to go to that area. If you have the opportunity to get some things together, very quickly put them together. Get your family and pets together, necessary medicines. We were talking about go bags last hour. Let's put all of this to use right now so you can make sure that you're safe and you're not putting first responders in any more danger than it is. If you've been watching any of this on TV, if you've been listening to any of this on KFI, we cannot impress upon you enough as to how dangerous this is. More than 10,000 homes and structures have already been threatened. Dozens of houses have already been burned. And there's nothing more precious than your own life. You can not necessarily protect your house, but you can protect your life. You can protect your loved ones if you act now and do not wait. The whole point of KFI staying on this all night long into the morning. If you didn't know, I'm going to be with you until midnight tonight. And then Tim Conway Jr. is going to come back on the air at midnight, and he'll go until 3 a.m. Neil Savagia will go from 3 to 5 a.m. And then Amy King will take over at 5 a.m. Why? Because this is a very dangerous situation, and we need to make sure that we're in constant communication, and you need to be in constant communication with your family members, even your neighbors, and you need to have all of this information just as soon as it's available. So do not wait. A new evacuation order has come down. It has been issued for northern Santa Monica, repeating, residents living between San Vicente Boulevard and the city's northern border are being ordered to evacuate due to the Palisades fire. And also, residents north of Montana Avenue are being warned to prepare to leave. And for me, I would interpret that as it's time for you to leave. If you have to prepare to leave, then you might as well make sure that you've made arrangements to either get somewhere safe immediately or have someone take you to somewhere there is safe. You have to make arrangements for pets. Now is the time to do it so you can do it. And this is from the city of Santa Monica. The evacuation order is due to an immediate threat to life. It is an order to leave. We will continue to watch this. We will continue to give you updates on the Palisades fire and the Eaton fire, which is burning above Altadena and has already claimed more than 200 acres. The Palisades fire, more than 2,900 acres. And that information has been out there for at least an hour. So I know that it's far more than 2,900 acres, but that's the latest information that we do have to give you. So keep it right here on KFI AM 640. We're not going anywhere. We will have all the information. We'll have the latest information, and we're going to keep you safe all night into the morning.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
I'm Mo Kelly as we continue our coverage of the fires in both Pacific Palisades and also Eaton Canyon above Altadena. And we have an update in that Eaton fire. A mandatory evacuation order has been handed down for that Eaton fire in Altadena. If you are in that area or the surrounding areas, now is the time for you to leave. As a mandatory evacuation order for the Eaton fire in Altadena. We'll give you the specifics in just a second. And joining us right now is Shannon Farron, one of the hosts of Gary and Shannon, who's in the Altadena area, who just left that area, who has eyes and ears on the ground. Shannon, are you safe, first and foremost?
Yes, I am. It has been an incredible afternoon. You know, when this news first broke, when the Palisades fire erupted during our show this morning, I said, well, before it erupted, and we're talking about the wind event, we're talking to Henry DiCarlo from KTLA, and I said, with all the hyperbole that goes along with weather, when it's the atmospheric river or the, Arctic blast or the Arctic outbreak or the polar vortex, this seems real. When they said that this was going to be life-threatening and destructive, it just felt different this morning, I think, for all of us. And certainly that's exactly what happened. And you saw this thing in the Palisades take off, right? And you knew that along the 210 corridor, that was going to remain a problem. When I saw that fire in the Palisades was jumping 2 to 3 football fields every minute, I said, this is not something to mess around with. Like, you've been telling everybody, if there's an evacuation warning, that means leave now. Don't wait for the order. Don't wait for somebody to knock on your door. Just leave now. And that's kind of like what my gut told me. Our power went out. I'm up against the foothills in that 210 corridor, and our power went out about 6 o'clock, and it has just sounded like Florida in the backyard. I mean, the tables and chairs are just being tossed around like child's play back there. When I got home from work, we had 5 yucca trees that had been uprooted from the ground and thrown out onto the street. So I waited for about an hour with the power out, and I thought, you know what, this is not good, because I wasn't getting anything on my phone, Mo. I wasn't getting anything off Twitter. I couldn't get the iHeartRadio app. which is why you need a real radio in your house.
Yes.
And I just got this weird feeling, and then I got a text from one of my girlfriends in Orange County. She says, "Aren't you close to Altadena?" And I'm like, "Oh no, what's going on in Altadena?" Because I'm in a blackout here. Literally and figuratively, I couldn't get anything online. I couldn't get the news, and so she's saying, "Yeah, it's Eaton Canyon," and I'm thinking, "Well, that's a canyon over. Screw this." So I just started making my go back. I packed a couple suitcases, got the documents and everything, got out of there, and I had no idea. I knew what a mess my home was, my backyard, my front yard, my neighborhood was pitch black. But I start getting into streets, Mo. It was insane. Huge, massive pine trees covering the roads horizontally. So you can't even get to the 210 or the 605. You have to take surface streets around, and I'm not talking about one road. I'm talking about several roads. The dust storm, the visibility was so low, it was like you were driving through the Middle East with the amount of dust that was in the area. The leaves that were coming up in front of every car, it was like that 70s game Concentration where the guys got to catch all the 5s and 10s. It was insane. I've never seen anything like this. We've all seen wind events in California, especially coming from Northern California. This is something else.
I can hear it in the background, and I know everyone listening can hear it in the background, but to underscore your point, we are at KFI, and this is impacting us personally, hosts here, and I have to say this because it's relevant. Tawala, our producer of the show, left the studio so he could evacuate his own family in the Altadena area. So this is very serious, and Shannon, you gave more great advice. You don't wait for the mandatory evacuation warning. Once it looks like it's coming your way, you get out, you leave, because to your point, you may not have power. You may not have the latest information. And another great reason to keep it right here on KFI so you can get this information. Now, Shannon, without giving all your information and what you're doing, do you have a safe place to go, or are you just going to be driving around in circles all night?
Yeah, no, go south. That's the key. Go south. As soon as I got on the 605, it was clear. The wind, I mean, I'm in my truck, and the wind on the 210 was moving my truck from lane to lane. I mean, it was one of those true white knuckle moments where it was using all my arm strength to stay in the lane on the 210. It was insane. I'm not exaggerating. It was crazy. And then when I got on the 605 south there, Mo, and I look in my rear view mirror, it was Twilight Zone. It was eerie. The entire foothills, pitch black, except for that bright red vein of flame that is headed down Eaton Canyon.
At this point, have you seen any type of destruction? You're seeing the flames, but have you seen any structures impacted?
No, I was further east from Eaton Canyon, and then I just continued further east to go south because, I'm not a storm chaser. And as we saw today in the Palisades, with people trying to get the hell out of there and just abandoning their cars, I think you realize how important it is to stay away from those areas and let the firefighters do their work.
Absolutely, because you might be well-intentioned. You may be trying to obey an evacuation order, but if you wait too late, you're actually impacting other people's lives as well. So, Shannon, I'm going to let you get to safety. I appreciate you calling in and letting us know what is going on right where you are. And can I contact you a little bit later on to see what's going on where you are?
Yeah, you got it. Thanks, Mo.
All right. It's KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. And if you're just tuning in, a mandatory evacuation order has been handed down for Eaton, the canyon, that fire, which is right next to Altadena. It's a mandatory evacuation order. Do not wait. If you are in the Altadena area near Eaton Canyon, now is the time to leave. Not prepare to leave, but actually leave. It's a mandatory evacuation order. It's about your safety and the safety of the first responders. We will have more in just a moment.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
KFI is continuing its coverage of the fires, which are ongoing in Pacific Palisades, and this growing Eaton Canyon fire, which I've just been informed is now more than 400 acres. It's growing at an alarming rate. And just in case you do not know, it's under mandatory evacuation order, the Eaton fire. If you're in the Altadena area or near Eaton Canyon, it is now time for you to leave. It's a mandatory evacuation order, which is in place. And also previous to that, is evacuations now are also impacting Santa Monica. For residents living between San Vicente Boulevard and the city's northern border are being ordered to evacuate due to the Palisades fire, and residents north of Montana are being warned to prepare to leave. Now, my interpretation of being prepared to leave is leave now. Get your things, your necessities, get your go bag together. Contact those relatives or friends who may need extra assistance. You can't just think about yourself. You may need to get someone else. Make sure your pets and things that you may need for your pets as far as food, extra change of clothes, and leave now. We just heard from Shannon Farron, who was leaving the Altadena area. I told you about Tawala Sharp, producer of the show, who left the station to evacuate his family in the Altadena area. I cannot be more clear. And I cannot be more serious to follow these evacuation orders. They are not suggestions. They are orders. They're not just for your benefit. They're for the benefit of others and first responders. And Eileen, you had something?
Yeah. Also, I just saw Mayor Karen Bass has officially declared a state of emergency for this situation.
And let's not lose sight of that. When we say state of emergency, the National Weather Service has described this windstorm, which is going to probably hit its peak at around midnight tonight. All the things that we're dealing with right now are probably going to become worse as the night goes on because of this windstorm. It's been described as life-threatening, extreme, and destructive. And it's going to get probably worse as the night goes on. You heard Eileen Gonzalez talk about Mayor Karen Bass, who's declared a state of emergency. She's activated the Emergency Operations Center, and parts of the LA region will potentially face one of the most significant windstorms in more than a decade. This is Mayor Bass. She says, I urge Angelenos to continue monitoring the storm and stay vigilant and safe. Power outages as a result of downed power lines, increased fire risk, and falling trees and debris should be expected during this time, and the impacts and dangers of a windstorm should be taken seriously. You heard Shannon Farron last segment talking about how she was dealing with a power outage. This is a time, hopefully, if you can hear me right now, maybe you're listening in your car, in your garage. Maybe you're listening on one of those old crank radios. I have one at home. And if you were fortunate enough to still have internet access, or you're listening on your phone via the iHeartRadio app, if you do not have power, that's an indication that your situation is worsening and you are in more danger, not less danger, if only because information flow will be limited to you. You have a limited stream of information. And as these evacuation orders come down, you may not get that information. So if you can listen to KFI AM 640 right now, God bless you. This is a place where you want to be, and we have that information. But if you're not with power, if you are not being able to fully communicate with friends and family, if you are near the evacuation areas, even though you may not have received a mandatory evacuation order, now is the time to leave. Because by the time you get the mandatory evacuation order, it may be too late, because there will be too many people who will be flooding these streets and these throughways and byways, which may make it more difficult for you to not only get to some other safe location, but it makes it also difficult for first responders to get to these impacted areas. It is very important that you heed the instructions and the directions of law enforcement, first responders, because it keeps everyone safe. And if you didn't hear, LAPD Fire Chief Crowley, when she was addressing the media and the general public regarding the Palisades fire, this was a few hours ago. So understand that what she said then is even more important now. But think about what she has to say as far as what is being threatened.
The population threatened is approximately 25,748. Households threatened is approximately 10,367. Structures threatened are approximately 13,208.
I can't quantify how much that has grown since then, but I can say to you that it has grown since then. And we have to assume, just for our collective safety, that it is more dangerous now than it was 3 or 4 hours ago. We know that the Eaton Canyon fire has doubled in the past 45 minutes. I know that for a fact because
it started at 6:30 at 10 acres. It's already at 400.
And it's signs of slowing down.
And I don't know if you were able to see the TVs, but you can see some of the reporters on different stations that are on air, and that wind is fierce. I mean, you see embers just blowing everywhere. It's fierce.
This is the first time I actually saw fire, and I said that to the top when I took over at 7:00. This is the first time I've seen fire fly sideways, horizontally, because of the wind.
Exactly. I've only seen rain do that.
Right.
It's scary.
And it's going to increase in intensity between now and midnight. And since we know that, and since you know you might be living near an impacted area, it makes no sense to wait until it's almost too late. We listened to Sue Cole earlier this evening detail how she left even before the mandatory evacuation. And it was difficult for her and her family to get out. And she is under the impression that not only her family has lost their house in the Palisades, but also her whole block. So this is not just about you. I understand you may see it on TV and it may seem distant. You may listen to us on KFI and think, well, that's over there. I don't have to worry about it. You might have woke up this morning and thought, well, I live in Santa Monica. I don't have anything to worry about. That's in the Pacific Palisades. That's a good 20 miles away. It is now on your doorstep, and most of Santa Monica is under a mandatory evacuation order. Eaton Canyon, Altadena, mandatory evacuation order. Do not wait. Do not wait. Get your things together as quickly as possible and leave those areas right now. We're going to continue to follow this. In fact, we'll be doing this all night long into the morning. If you didn't know, I will be going all the way until midnight. We talked about how the winds are going to get worse between now and midnight. I'm going to be right here sitting with you, giving you that information so you know which way they are moving, which way the fires are moving, if they have jumped from community to community, from street to street, whether there are new evacuation orders which are mandatory and that you have to follow. We will have that information for you. That's why it's so important that you keep it right here on KFI AM 640. And when I leave at midnight, you'll be rejoined by Tim Conway Jr. at midnight, who will be on from midnight to 3 a.m. That's how important this is. That's how important KFI is taking it, making sure that you're going to stay informed throughout the night. And at 3 a.m., Neil Savager will join you from 3 to 5 a.m. Then 5 a.m., the station will resume normally with its normal programming schedule with Amy King, and then Bill Handel will just keep on going from there. So if you need information, this is the place where you will find it for all 24 hours. 24 hours. Just keep it here on KFI AM 640.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
And we are continuing our coverage, and we will continue our coverage all night long, all throughout the night, into the morning, to the early light. We are going to stay right on this because it is impacting not just you, but it's impacting us here at KFI. A number of members of our staff, air personalities, they are evacuating their families right now. So it's very important for all of us. In fact, we've had a number of members of KFI. You may not know this, but they're communicating with us and they're listening to KFI because they know they're going to get the latest information. So with that in mind, we're going to open up the phones because some of the best information is the information that you, the listener, who is right there seeing all of this, experiencing all of this, can be of benefit and service to the rest of us. So give us a call if you are in any of the impacted areas. Let's say you live somewhat close to Pacific Palisades or you lived in Pacific Palisades. I want to hear from you at 800-520-1KFI. Let's say you were just evacuated in the Santa Monica area or the Altadena area. You can give us a call at 800-520-1534. If you're in an area where you're trying to find out what is going on in another area because the power is out or you've lost contact with a family member, give us a call at 800-520-1534 because we have all of these ways to share information and stay in communication with each other. But these are the times where we should really use them, and they can be of benefit and service to everyone. And just in case you did not know, or just in case you're tuning in and you did not find out, there are mandatory evacuation orders in multiple parts of Southern California. There's a mandatory evacuation order which has been issued about maybe 30 minutes ago for northern Santa Monica, and specifically residents living between San Vicente and the city's northern border are being ordered to evacuate due to the Palisades fire. And residents north of Montana Avenue are being warned to prepare to leave. My interpretation is you need to leave now. Don't prepare to leave. Assume that you are going to leave. Get together what you need to get together. Your important documents, your medicines, obviously things you may need for your pets, changes of clothes, extra water, and leave now before it makes it almost too difficult to leave because of other obstacles or other things which may begin to happen as the fire may spread. These are mandatory evacuation orders from the city of Santa Monica because of an immediate threat to life. It is an order to leave. And there's a mandatory evacuation order for Eaton Canyon, which is above Altadena. That fire, which started around 6:30 tonight, with 10 acres, is more than 400 acres and expanding almost exponentially, very quickly, growing rapidly. And that's saying nothing of the wind, which is going to increase between now and the end of the night. Around midnight, it's supposed to be at its peak from a wind sense. So if you are out there and you can see this, if you're experiencing this, if you've had to evacuate because of this, if you're worried about someone or worried about an impacted area, give us a call at 800-520-1534. 800-520-1534. We want to hear what you are seeing, what you are experiencing. We talked to Shannon Farron earlier today of Gary and Shannon about maybe a half an hour or so ago, and she was detailing about the strength of the winds and how she had lost power in her house and decided to leave because it was unsafe, and it was best that she left while she could as opposed to waiting for a mandatory evacuation order. We've had multiple members of the KFI family which had to evacuate their families this evening. So this is impacting you. It's impacting us. And the only way we get through it is if we stay together and we keep talking to each other and making sure everyone has the latest information. That's the only way. This is something which is probably going to get much worse, if only because the Eaton Canyon fire is expanding rapidly. The wind is getting stronger as the evening goes on. We already know about the Pacific Palisades fire and how many structures that it has destroyed, and the 10,000 structures and homes that has threatened. And that fire is not in any way under control. We heard from a person, Sue Cole, earlier this evening, detailing how she thought and that she's lost her home, and her neighbors on her street have all lost their homes. It cannot be more serious, and it cannot be more dangerous than this. But the next hour, I just want to hear from you, because you're out there, you're experiencing it, you're dealing with it, and your lives are being changed because of it. You may be worried about your house. You may be worried about a relative. I definitely want to hear from you. Give us a call at 800-520-1KFI, 800-520-1534. And when we come back at the top of the hour, after Eileen Gonzalez gives us the latest on these fires during the news break, we're going to hear from you and hear your stories of what you've had to deal with today, some of your fears, some of your concerns, some of your questions, even if we can answer them for you, and also give you some of the latest information where if you're in an impacted area and maybe you don't have power, maybe you're just listening on your phone, maybe you're in your garage listening on your car, because once again, this is a perfect example of why AM radio is so very important for moments just like these, times just like today, emergencies just like this one. why AM radio is so very important. So we want to hear from you when we come back, your calls, your stories, your concerns at 800-520-1KFI, 800-520-1534. KFI AM 640 is going to stay on this all night long into the morning. And if you don't know, I will remind you that Tim Conway Jr. is going to come back in at midnight. I'm going to stay with you. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be with you until the end of the night. At midnight, then Tim Conway Jr. will come back to the station and rejoin and go from 12 midnight to 3 a.m. We'll have Neil Savager from 3 to 5 a.m. and then Amy King will take over at 5 a.m. So we have you covered from now through the rest of the night into the next day. We're not going anywhere. I'm going to talk to you next. KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
Fires are raging. KFI News is working. Stay safe. Stay informed.
KFI.
And KOST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County.
Live.